Saving Private Ryan was directed by Steven Spielberg. It just celebrated its 25th anniversary this year, and seeing as how this is the greatest war film of all time, in my opinion, we had to pay respects to this thing. And it's got a sizable all-star cast anchored by Tom Hanks, Matt Damon, and Tom Sizemore. This came out back in the year 1998, and it somehow lost out the Best Picture Oscar to Shakespeare in Love, apparently. Like, how? So Captain John Miller, played here by Tom Hanks, takes his men behind enemy lines to find Private James Ryan. Ryan's 3 brothers have been killed in combat already, and Hanks has been ordered to take a few soldiers with him, basically to find Private Ryan and basically send him home to his mother. One can only grieve with that poor woman. And while they're surrounded by the brutal realities of war while searching for Ryan, each man embarks upon a personal journey and discovers their own strength, all to triumph over an uncertain future with honor, decency, and courage. I honestly, truly believe that it's movies like Saving Private Ryan that show you why Steven Spielberg is the greatest director of all time. Because how can you not acknowledge that this is possibly the greatest put-together war film ever? Those first 25 minutes when those poor men are basically led to the slaughterhouse, they are basically sent onto the beach of Normandy, and all these Allied soldiers are falling left and right, and Steven Spielberg is actually on the battlefield with these guys as they're reframing this and telling this story. And they're doing their best to historically recount what happened that fateful day. And it is just gruesome, brutal, and horrifying. If you can call a war movie an anti-war movie, it would be this one, Saving Private Ryan. It is questioning the morality of why these men are out there and how they become killers on the battlefield. And the movie is obviously never glorifying battle or anything, but it's glorifying these very brave men who went out on the field to basically defend their country. And this is just a brilliantly made movie. Normally, I would sit here and say that shaky cam really distracts you from the action, but this, in my opinion, is the best use of shaky cam ever put to film. Because when you're in these battles with these guys, you are in it, and the shaky cam really gives you this raw feeling. It's almost like you're in a first-person video game shooter, except you're actually in it and trying to survive amongst the pandemonium. And it's genius. It's genius what Spielberg does here. The cinematography is absolutely pitch perfect. It almost looks as if you're looking into a time capsule. And the imagery you see here looks very raw as well. It almost looks like you're taking a peek back at the Time magazines and the pictures that are actually captured for history books and are shown to you in the classrooms. It just feels so authentic, unlike most war films that you see these days. And there's no cheesiness about it. You never really see any characters in this movie. You see real everyday people just on the field, and they're joking around with each other for sure. Some people have some jokes along the way, but these are very motivated and brave men, and you can't help but want to see them get out of this situation. Tom Hanks is utterly marvelous in this movie, as you would expect from him. The speeches that he gives about going home to his wife when everybody is wanting to turn against him. His whole team has basically given up the search for Private Ryan, and they're wondering why they're even doing this and what the purpose is. And Hanks just has this beautiful soliloquy about how he needs to get home to his wife. Now, unfortunately, his character, Captain John Miller, does not make it out of this alive, and it's a very heartbreaking scene when you do see that go down. But you are constantly pulling for this guy to make it out of there because you just see an everyday person in there. You don't necessarily see a performance or a character or hell, even an actor. And Tom Hanks is one of the most recognizable actors ever. And there's so many recognizable people in this movie. Bryan Cranston is in this movie, and I completely forget about that. Every time I look back at this movie, it's so jarring to see Bryan Cranston sitting there, and I'm like, what? What are you doing here? And that's not all. Vin Diesel is in this movie. Paul Giamatti is in this movie. Both of them are fantastic. You have both Giovanni Ribisi and Adam Goldberg in here, both of whom I know as recurring characters on Friends. I mean, every single person they got to do this is absolutely great. Tom Sizemore, of course, really great part for him. And last but not least, Matt Damon as Private Ryan himself. He was just coming off of the success of Good Will Hunting around this point, and he was great. I mean, he's a guy who lost all 3 of his brothers basically all in one fell swoop, and yet this guy still wants to remain on the battlefield basically to fulfill his duty. duties. And we as the audience are sitting there like, what? Get out of there. Go home to your mom. But yet you still kind of understand why he wants to stay out there with what he says are the only brothers he has left. And the fact that these men are going all this way on this secret mission to go and find him, to go send him home, like, it's a huge weight on your shoulders, man. So yeah, these performances all feel very in the moment and very raw. Just like the general filmmaking, the battle sequences, I've said enough about them all. The opening 25 minutes are worth the R rating by itself. When they're actually storming the beach and you get the shaky cam and you feel like you're there with these guys and you see your commandants going down left and right. Spielberg is making you fear war in the most visceral of ways. And just sitting there and watching this movie just makes me commend all the brave men and women who have gone out there and served for our country. Like, these battle sequences make it feel like it's hell on earth. And I'm sure anybody who's been on the battlefield will tell you, all the veterans will tell you, it is. And I think that right there, along with all the performances and all the other great technicals about this movie, John Williams' iconic score, of course, is absolutely magnificent. I think all these little pieces put together make Saving Private Ryan the single greatest war film you'll ever see. Nobody else could have done it other than Steven Spielberg, man. This is another big notch in his belt as to why he's the greatest director to ever live. I'm gonna give Saving Private Ryan an A+. Man, I'm so happy I got to talk about this with you guys. I'm so happy. Well, let me know what you thought of this movie down in the comments section below. And let me know what other Oscar contenders that you would like to see me talk about. Because I got a couple more the remainder of this year in the pipeline, including what's up next. We're going to keep with Spielberg's filmography. We're going to celebrate the 30th anniversary of one of his absolute greatest. We're going to hit the rewind button and take a look at Schindler's List. Best Picture winner of 1993, he put that movie out in the same calendar year as Jurassic Park. Man, that's freaking wild. But in addition to that, I'm also going to be discussing all the newest movies, TV shows, all that fun jazz. So please do consider subscribing and tap on that thumbs up as well. It's a great community of film lovers and entertainment lovers out here, and y'all are invited to the party. Guys, y'all are the best. Thank you so much again for tuning in. And with all that being said, Back Talk, commence.